Welcome back, fellow adventurers, to the Pacesetter Games YouTube channel. My name is Ben Barge, and I am going to be explaining a little bit more today as to why we canceled the Exwyn's Handbook to Heroism Kickstarter. This is our first canceled Kickstarter. I'm just going to be totally blunt and honest throughout this entire video, and we are going to cover a lot of topics. So if you have any questions or if I need to clarify something further, if I can, please just ask me in the comments or send us an email to support@pacesettergames.com. And this video might seem a little rambly because I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to cut it up. I'm not going to choose and pick my words very carefully. I'm just going to be pretty blunt about this situation because that's how we believe we should run our business. It's just out of respect for you all, the awesome Pacesetter community. So first off, who am I? My name is Ben. I am the son of Bill Barsh, who owns this company. This company is me and my dad, and then a handful of freelancers who work with us to create the amazing team that we have. And I've been in the hobby pretty much since I was like 14 or 15. So I've built up almost a decade of experience in the tabletop game industry. I've also worked for other companies like Frog God Games and Nord Games. And a part of a role that I have had in the past is social media work. I used to make a lot of videos for companies, and then I also did marketing work on the social media side for Kickstarters. So I have been around any Kickstarter size you can imagine, all the way from a smaller project that maybe raises a few $100s or into the lower thousands, all the way up into the higher six-figure range. I've seen it all. So I've worked with Kickstarter in specific my entire career almost, except for the first few years when I started out. I was just helping my dad package orders. So that's me. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of who I am, just so you can help, that might help you understand all of the experience that I've had that led into ultimately making the decision to cancel the Kickstarter. I want to really reiterate that this decision was not made lightly. This is a long time coming of experience, talking to other people, getting other people's opinions that led into this decision. So now I want to go into the history of the product. How did Exwyn's Handbook to Heroism start? What was the origins? Well, me and my friend Connor, who I went to high school with, who is also a Dungeons and Dragons enjoyer, we started just coming up with ideas for different subclasses years ago, like 3-4 years ago. And it first started off with us just sort of like reskinning, like a light cleric or a life cleric into other damage types or other forms of healing. And then it sort of just tumbled into creating unique subclasses and races all in and of itself for our home campaigns. And since I have Pacesetter, I started to think, wow, we could really make a pretty solid product with the content that we have, because we're enjoying these subclasses. Other people are enjoying these. Let's take a shot at it as far as the product goes. So we just sort of did it slowly throughout the years. If you bought Into the Unknown, which is my first solo adventure, then you'll know that there are 2 new subclasses and races / sub-races in those books. So we've dabbled with this in the past, but this was our first big swing into that supplement book genre. So down the line, we started to get Dustin Baldwin involved. Dustin is absolutely fantastic, writes some of the most amazing content I've seen for subclasses and races, and just this new player option content. And he had a lot to offer. So we brought him onto the team. He brought a bunch of content with him, and then we started to put it all together, started to design it together, balance it together, flesh out the rest of the book, and then we got to the manuscript that we have today. So that's a little bit of the backstory as far as the product goes. We actually wanted to release this product a while ago, but we decided to just play things slow and do everything basically the right way. So the other product that we went on Kickstarter with recently was the Tome of Quests. Now, the Tome of Quests hadn't had its PDFs sent out at the time that we wanted to launch it, which was a few months ago, which was around like the October-November time. So instead of just putting out another Kickstarter without that one like completely fulfilled or the PDF sent out, we decided to hold it. Plus, releasing a Kickstarter at the holidays generally doesn't really go over well because people are distracted. Advertisements cost even more because all the big corporations are buying ad space on Facebook and Instagram and Google, but we don't really do much with Google. So the decision was made to hold it over until the beginning of this year when we launched it. Well, no one really foresaw Wizards of the Coast trying to deauthorize the OGL right out from all of us. So that was just a huge curveball thrown into this project. I mean, let's all be honest, just one of the most unfortunate times to have a 5th edition supplement book. And I also want to touch on the point of old school real quick. We always put out an old school version of our products as well. And a lot of our projects are actually, the inception of the product is originally in old school. We write it in BX or 1E, and then we port it over into 5E or whatever we're actually publishing for, which is usually 5th edition, Basic Expert, and Swords and Wizardry. For this project, I just didn't see it's not an old school project. Let's be honest. I mean, new subclasses are not a thing in BX, and no one really plays races that are outside of like the original core races. So it's just not the BX product. And I didn't want to try to force feed our old school audience a product that they have no use for. And that's coming from an old school player. I don't know if you can see, but I grew up on Fantasy Forest. That's actually Alan Hammock's version of Fantasy, his own copy of Fantasy Forest that I bought at a convention. So I've played a bunch of TSR products growing up, and I actually played the original TSR solo adventures as well, and that helped me write my own solo adventure. So that's sort of just the history of the product. I know I'm word vomiting a lot and rambling a lot, but now I'm going to sort of get into the project itself. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a preface of how we got to where we are now. So we started to have to do the pre-launch marketing for this project during the OGL crisis, which certainly didn't help because a lot of people got turned off from 5th edition. I got a good few emails of people saying they are unwilling to support 5th edition material because of Wizards of the Coast. And I want to reiterate right now, if you support a third-party creator, their 5e project, you're not supporting Wizards of the Coast. We don't give a royalty to Wizards of the Coast, right? If you just buy a different game system that is still used in the OGL, that is the equal amount of support as you are supporting 5th edition, because they both have to use the OGL. So that's just a little point there. So when we were doing the pre-marketing, basically we have a landing page for the Kickstarter, and then you get followers, and these followers get notified of that project when it goes live. We didn't have as many followers as we normally do on the project, so I was already sort of nervous going into it, but there was obviously about 300 people signed up who are ready and excited for the product. So we decided to ship it. And our return rate on our newsletter was very low. Our click rate was lower than it has ever been. I really want to show you guys the numbers, but you're just going to have to take my word, because I'm trying to be as honest as possible. There is some stuff that I just can't show. I'm not going to show our internal exact percentages and metrics and numbers, because at some point company privacy does matter, right? So our numbers were just really low. Our click rate on social media and our newsletter was way lower than normal. We started paid advertisements on this project as well, and we were losing about 3 times the amount of money that we were putting into it. So we had to stop those ads basically immediately. So our conversion rates were far lower than they normally were, which is not a good sign essentially for a project. And that could be for many different reasons. People getting out of work. I know we got a lot of comments of people saying, oh, I just got out of work, I was planning on backing it. I really, really do appreciate all of you, by the way, for saying that, because that means there's still interest in this product, right? But our data and social trends were just not lining up to what they normally were. And I want to caution you all, be careful not to use online resources that aren't from us, because these online resources are often pretty wrong, or they sample their data just based on a very small sample size and not the entire 30-day project. Basically what happens when you launch a Kickstarter is you get the majority of your funding in the first 24 to 48 hours and the last 24 to 48 hours. The middle period is called the doldrums. That is where you don't get a lot of funding. Most days you honestly lose backers, and that's true for any size company. Like I said, I've worked on projects from 50 backers all the way up to 5,000 backers. I've seen it all. I've been a part of it all. So with all of that kind of in mind, and then on top of all of the social unrest that is still there with 5e, people do say that the OGL crisis is over. It's not, because now every company is making a new retro clone, and then us companies are going to have to choose which one we want to publish for. It's not over. Trust me, it's not over. So all of those factors really pushed us to cancel the project. And the reason for that is, this is the main concern here, right? Is the funding goal. A lot of people see that we were right about at our funding goal, so we're crazy and stupid for canceling our project right before it's about to hit the funding goal. And I completely understand this. This is not a shock to me. Like that I knew right away that was going to be the major criticism or just question, I guess, going into our response. Basically, what companies do is, depending on your size or depending on what you actually have to put into a product, your funding goal is generally the bare minimum you need just to create a product. And then that's usually just to get the product printed. And then from there, you hope you recover your R&D. And your R&D is generally your writing costs if you have to pay writers, your art costs if you have to pay artists, which every project does, which that was the large part of this budget is art, because getting these beautifully painted individual characters for each subclass and each subrace, which would have equaled about like 67, that's a lot of art pieces to pay for, and they aren't cheap. So that's where a lot of our budget would have had to be allocated to. On top of that, layout designers, getting graphics done for the Kickstarter, paying our marketing team, getting ads or graphics specifically made for ads, and then the Kickstarter, and then social media separately. There's a lot of cost that goes into creating a book that isn't just printing. So basically, when you see that trajectory, when I saw that trajectory, I've been around too many projects that have basically collapsed to know what that outcome could be. I'm not saying specifically that was the determined outcome. I know it was only going to get X amount of dollars and we would lose X amount of dollars in R&D. No matter what that figure is, in this uncertain time for being a small company that basically goes from project to project, we just can't take that risk. And I wasn't willing to take that risk to lose all that money and then put all of our freelancers in our company basically in ruin, so that's just the blunt honesty of it, right? We just can't take a serious loss at this time in the stage of our company. So the decision was made to cancel it and then sort of reconvene, figure out how we can maybe change this project to have it be a healthier launch. And I want to say on the money point right now, because we did get a comment about this, we don't collect any money on Kickstarter at all until the project ends, and then 2 weeks after the project ends. So from the time you launch the Kickstarter, you don't see any money until at least 45 days if you do a 30-day Kickstarter, right? Because that's 30 days and then 2 to 3 weeks to actually get your funds. So if you back the project, we don't have any of your money. I just want to say that because a lot of people, rightfully so, there's been so many Kickstarters in this world that have been created that never end up delivering. But I just want to say that's not us. We deliver our projects. Actually, the Tome of Quests, which was, like I said, our last Kickstarter project, the Tome of Quests is, the PDFs were released 5 months early, and the books are slated to be 4 months early. And I actually have pretty good timing from the printer. I have our proofs for the Tome of Quests. I don't even know if I'm supposed to show this, but I am, because I think it matters. I think it matters that we always try to put our best foot forward with these projects. And when we realize we can't put that best foot forward, I would rather just scrap it and start from some square one and figure this shit out together. Because the last thing I want is I don't want to be someone who has false words, that says they're going to do one thing and can't do it, right? Because I respect you all too much. I respect the money that you put into this project. Life is hard right now. Interest rates in America are through the roof. Home buying is impossible. We're about to hit a recession. Cost of living is rising and wages are not rising with it. So if I'm not 1,000% confident that this project is going to have the utmost best possible for that price point and for that version of the book that we promoted, I think it's only right to pull it, And I know that people are going to have different opinions on that, but that's just how I see it, And that's just my honesty, right? I don't want to put out a product that you get 6 months to a year from now and start leafing through it and then go, this was not as marketed, As marketed, we have these beautiful painted art pieces. We have all these beautiful assets in the book, and then you get it at home and it's a different version, it's a different art style, or it's not even color at all. That's the worst case scenario, So canceling the project was sort of just us getting out ahead of the problems that we could have foreseen, which I know some people might not agree with or understand, but off of all the experience that we have, and I know I'm saying a lot on me because I was the project manager for this project. So this all falls on me. This doesn't fall on anyone else in the company. So that's that part. That is why we decided to ultimately cancel it. And I also do want to say I was on the phone for about 7 hours that day, all the way up until the minute that we hit cancel. I was on the phone with other industry professionals getting opinions, and that helped ultimately lead to the decision where we are now. So where we are now, and again, if I didn't cover something, please let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to answer it. So where do we go from here? We have a survey ready for you. It's in the comments of this video. And basically it's a survey about Exwyns as a product, things you were interested in, things you're not interested in, and then the future of the release of the product. So the questions vary from I was interested in Exwyns, but I don't play 5e. Or I normally do play 5e, but I'm reconsidering my options because of the OGL crisis, basically. So going through this right now, if you have time today or in the next week or so, please just go fill it out. You can be as detailed or undetailed if you want. If you just want to click the multiple choice answers, that's amazing. We have submission boxes if you want to give more input. We're going to read all of them and take all of them into consideration. So where we want to go with this project is actually a little different than Kickstarter. So with just this time of uncertainty, and we're not really certain if this is actually a project that our audience really wants to engage in, we have a different idea of the release of this project. So if you're unfamiliar with DriveThruRPG, it's an online platform where you can go buy PDFs. You have a PDF catalog on that website, and you can also, depending on the product, you can get a print-on-demand version of that book for a little bit more expensive of a price. So we want to release this project on DriveThruRPG for a much lower price point because it won't have all of that, really high definition painted artwork inside. So we envision this as going back to the roots of the original project: subclasses, races and subraces, spells and feats. We will hold this solo system for a separate product, and the alternate group rules and all that other accessory content we were going to put in the book, we're going to hold that for separate products, right? The solo system is actually in our solo adventure books. It's just this version of the solo system was going to be a lot more fleshed out with more encounter table, with a bunch of additional information that isn't in the original solo system. So we'll put that off to the side and do something specifically with that later on. So if you are interested in a PDF version of Exwyn's Handbook to Heroism with fantastic sketch and black and white artwork like you see on the screen right now, for a lower price point, then please let us know in that survey. Basically what it would be like a drive-thru exclusive release for like 30 days. So you would go over and buy it off of DriveThruRPG. You get the PDF immediately, and hopefully we would be able to set up an actual like physical version of it. It would most likely be soft cover, a soft cover version of the book, but at least you would just have that option to get a physical version of the book. So if that's something you're interested in or not interested in, please let us know in that survey. If you also want to let us know in the comments, that's completely fine. But the survey is certainly going to be the best place for us to have that aggregate of information to make future decisions off of. And why we also want to do this on DriveThru is everyone for the project has been compensated, like all the designers, all the writers, all the artists, everyone's been compensated and will continue to be. But the beauty in DriveThruRPG is we can set up a little bit of a royalty system. So that way the designers and everyone gets a little bit more slice of the pie. And continue to actually make money off of their work. So, wow, that was a lot. I know that was a lot. If you stuck it through all the way to the end, I really appreciate it. I think that's pretty much all we have for now. We will be sending out surveys in the future in a few weeks about Pacesetter Games specifically, like our company and what you want products-wise, what you want from us system-wise. All of that will be in a separate survey. A big part of this too is I really want to get a Discord channel up and running so that way we have like a closer interaction with everybody. So if a Discord channel is something you're interested in, let me know in the comments as well. So I know I was a little rambly perhaps. So if you want to, leave feedback or ask any other questions, just please let me know in the comments and I will do my best to address each and every single one of them individually. So again, from the bottom of my heart, everyone, I'm really sorry. I mean, This has eaten me up over the last, however many days it has been since we ultimately decided to cancel the project. This is not something that I wanted for the company at all, and I really feel like I let everyone down with the way that we went about this project. And I'm going to do my best to make it right with you guys, with the community. And to do so, I just need a little help. I want to know what you guys want out of this, and how we can release this product in the best way possible with the circumstances we're under. So I really am sorry. This is a learning lesson for sure. And I look forward to continuing to crush future projects and hopefully stay on that timeline where we're at right now with a project like Toma Quest. That being the absolute standard for projects going forward, where we're months early because we're on top of production. The printer is caught up after COVID and having paper supply issues. We're all chugging on good directions here. It's just this was a little speed bump. But it's okay, because we're going to pave out a smooth road to go on into the future. And there's going to be bumps. There's going to be. That's just the nature of owning a business, or just being in any industry anywhere. But the best thing that I feel like we can do as a company is just be honest and work forward together, because this is a community. This is the Knights of the Round Table, and I really want to keep it that way. So thank you all for your continued support. I appreciate it. The team appreciates it, and we are very much looking forward to still releasing this content and these words into the world in some way. Right? It might not be the original idea, but we still want to do it. We still want to move forward because we believe in this content. And if you play 5e still, I think you're going to like it too. All right. Please let us know. That's it from me today, everybody. Keep those rolls and spirits high. I'll see you next time. And always remember, your next great adventure is right around the corner. Thank you. Have a great week.